A drone crosses 1,000 miles of Russian territory without seeing a single soldier and hits a refinery that never expected to be found. The fire takes out a cracking unit that took 2 years to build and can't be replaced under sanctions. The plant doesn't stop for a day, it stops for a season. Nobody fired a shot at it, nobody had to. So how do you actually dismantle a war machine without ever crossing the front line? In this video, we break that down. Why oil refineries matter more than fuel depots, why sinking one ship changes an entire shipping lane, why a warehouse full of drones is one spark from becoming a crater, why a civilian marketplace can turn into a supply line without anyone signing a contract, why blinding a radar is worth more than shooting down a jet, and why an 8-gallon limit at a gas pump 1,800 miles from the war says everything. Instinct says the target is the tank farm. Rows of storage, easy to see, easy to hit. Reality is, the target is the cracking tower. Burn the storage and Russia buys more crude. Burn the cracking unit and there is nothing left to turn crude into fuel. That's the logic behind the strike on 3 Bashneft refineries in Ufa in a single night. A combined processing capacity above 25 million tons a year, 1,000 miles from the nearest Ukrainian position. Add the Ilsky refinery in Krasnodar, still burning. Add Slavyansk na Kuban, 4.5 million tons a year, a key source of export fuel oil. Add the Yaroslavl refinery, 435 miles out, hit in the same rolling campaign. Depth was supposed to be safety. Depth turned out to be a number on a map, nothing more. A refinery is not a target. A refinery is a choke point. The one stage in the whole chain that can't be skipped, rebuilt overnight, or bought around sanctions. The oil never even has to leave port to become a target. 8 tankers of Russia's shadow fleet get hit near Crimea in one coordinated strike. These aren't warships. They're aging vessels flying flags of convenience, insured through shell companies, built to move sanctioned oil like it was never sanctioned at all. Then a container ship goes down 130 nautical miles off Novorossiysk, international waters nowhere near the front. 2 naval drones, about 18 feet long, under 2,200 pounds, closing at over 40 miles an hour on the surface of the water. The ship belongs to Fesco, folded into Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear conglomerate. 110,000 tons of capacity on the bottom of the Black Sea, over cargo Moscow called frozen food and construction material. The Shadow Fleet is not a smuggling operation. It is Russia's entire workaround for sanctions, riding on paperwork instead of protection. Take away the paperwork's cover and the workaround stops working. 17 crew were rescued. The ship was not. The same logic reaches inland, to where the weapons are stored before they're used. Kursk region, February. A logistics hub storing roughly 10,000 drones and their support vehicles gets hit by fiber optic drones flying 30 miles, immune to the jamming that stops almost everything else. One strike. 10,000 systems that no longer exist. The enemy believed nothing threatened it on its own territory, the unit that carried it out said afterward, but forgot that concentrating that much value in one place is the same as destroying it yourself. A warehouse is not a safe place to keep 10,000 drones. It's a target that hasn't been hit yet. Not every logistics target wears a uniform. Since mid-July, drones have hit 8 distribution centers belonging to Wildberries, Russia's largest online marketplace, close to half the country's e-commerce, with 4 more strikes turned back before impact. Electrostal alone lost 2,700,000 square feet on July 18th, the single worst hit. Add Ryazan, Kotovsk, Krasnodar, Nevinomysk, St. Petersburg. Combined, roughly 9,300,000 square feet gone, over 15% of the company's entire warehouse footprint, in a war that never put a single soldier inside any of those buildings. The reasoning is specific, not symbolic. The same marketplace that sells raincoats and phone cases also sells body armor and the fiber optic cable that guides an FPV drone onto its target. No state contract, no procurement office, just a delivery address. It's the supply line the official one doesn't have to admit exists. A marketplace is not just a marketplace. It's a channel, and a channel doesn't need a uniform to move a war forward. None of this works if the other side can see it coming, which is why the radars go first. Podlet K1 stations built to catch exactly the kind of low, slow target that's now hunting them. Casta 2 E2 units meant to feed data into Pantsir and S-400 batteries. 4 radar stations in Krasnodar in a single push, more in Belgorod, more in occupied Crimea. Instinct says shoot down the drone. Reality says blind the radar first, and the multi-million-dollar air defense system behind it becomes an expensive box that can't see anything to shoot at. A radar is not just a sensor, it is the eyes for every missile system standing behind it. Kill the eyes and the weapon becomes furniture. And 1,800 miles away in Irkutsk, none of this looks like war. It looks like a sign taped to a gas pump, 8 to 13 gallons per vehicle per day, depending which region you're standing in. In Crimea, civilian sales stop entirely. In Tomsk, private fuel networks run dry with no announcement at all, just a line of cars that doesn't move, in a city that has never once heard a drone overhead. That queue is not a supply hiccup. It is a refinery fire in Bashkortostan, arriving by mail 6 weeks late at a gas station in Siberia. Nobody in that line needs to know what a cracking tower is to feel the effect of losing one. This isn't a new idea, it's an old one wearing a new engine. August 1943, Ploiesti, Romania. The refineries supplying nearly a third of Germany's oil. Low-level B-24 raid, hundreds of aircraft, brutal losses in a single afternoon. The refineries kept running. But the campaign against Axis oil didn't stop there, and by 1944 the Luftwaffe was grounding pilots not for lack of planes, but for lack of fuel to train them. May 1982, the Falklands. A British submarine sinks the cruiser General Belgrano outside the declared exclusion zone, 323 sailors lost. Argentina's entire surface navy returns to port and never sails again for the rest of the war. One ship, at long range, rewrote the other side's whole naval strategy without another shot fired at sea. September 2019, Abqaiq, Saudi Arabia. A wave of drones and cruise missiles hits the largest oil processing facility on the planet and the Kurais field beside it. Roughly 5.5 million barrels a day go offline in a single morning. Close to 5% of the entire world's oil supply gone before breakfast. No army crossed a border. A processing facility the size of a small city turned out to be exactly as vulnerable as a target with no army standing in front of it. The tools have changed. Cracking towers instead of coastal cities, naval drones instead of nuclear submarines, fiber optic guidance instead of low-level bombers threading flak. The rule hasn't moved an inch. Hit the choke point the enemy can't route around, and the front line stops mattering. And as always, most of what burns doesn't burn because of genius. It burns because of a mistake nobody thought would matter. Storing value without spreading it out. 10,000 drones under one roof is not efficiency, it's a single point of failure with a roof on it. Treating distance as defense. 1,000 miles used to mean safe. It now means a slightly longer flight time. Leaving radar stations in fixed positions, the same coordinates for months, is not a defensive network, it's a series of pre-solved targets. Assuming a flag and an insurance policy make a ship untouchable, paperwork stops customs agents, it doesn't stop a drone. Depending on 2 or 3 refineries for a region's entire fuel supply, redundancy is expensive until the day it's the only thing that saves you. Announcing rationing instead of admitting shortage, an 8-gallon limit doesn't hide the problem, it just puts a number on how bad it already is. Treating a civilian storefront as neutral ground, a marketplace listing is still a shipping manifest, just one nobody has to sign. Believing a processing facility is too large and too central to lose, Abqaiq was the largest in the world, and it went offline in a single morning anyway. There is no rear anymore. There is only the next target that hasn't been found yet. If this kind of breakdown is useful, subscribe. There's more of this coming.